Iran has launched a swarm of explosive drones and fired missiles at Israel late in the night in its first ever direct attack on Israeli territory. This has risked a major escalation between the two nations. Israel's military has said more than 100 drones were launched from Iran, with security sources in Iraq and Jordan also reporting dozens seen flying overhead, and US officials saying the US military had shot down some. The IDF has said that sirens now have been sounded in northern Israel. Well, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken with US President Joe Biden following the deliberations of the Security Cabinet and the War Cabinet. Meanwhile, Israel has called for an emergency UNSC meet as Iran struck its territory and demanded terrorist tag for the Revolutionary Guards. What we are also learning is that Iran's state news agency has said that its military launched a wave of ballistic missiles as well. Well, Israel's military has said that missiles have been fired. There have been, however, no immediate reports of these striking in Israel. What we're learning at the moment is that no damage so far has been reported. However, we'll try and get more details about that. Remember, Iran had vowed retaliation for the Israeli strike that was conducted on its Damascus consulate on April 1st that killed 7 guards officers, that included 2 senior commanders. And the country has said that the strike was a punishment for Israeli crimes. Well, that is the latest that's coming in. Also, objects flying over the sky in different regions of Israel, West Bank and Jordan have been seen, while booms and air raid sirens have sounded in Jerusalem and northern Israel. Well, this is the first direct military attack against Israel that is being seen. Israeli military has said Iran has fired more than 100 bomb-carrying drones toward Israel. Hours later, Iran announced it also launched much more destructive ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Well, US has said that it has downed some of the Iran-launched attack drones flying towards Israel. Well, US President Joe Biden also on Twitter has said he's met with his national security team for an update on Iran's attacks against Israel. He said our commitment to Israel's security against threats from Iran and its proxies is ironclad. Well, condemnation of the attack has been swift. Iran had been threatening to attack Israel after the airstrike earlier this week that blamed on Israel destroyed Iran's consulate in Syria, that killed at least 12 people, including 2 elite Iranian generals. Now, missiles could be seen over the West Bank also as Iran launched the direct military attack against Israel. Israel's army spokesperson Admiral Daniel Hagari, his statement has come. He said the country was prepared. Iran had been threatening to launch the attack against Israel. Also, Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari also said that more than 200 missiles were launched at Israel by Iran. Also, let's now take a look at this conversation we had with White House correspondent from Voice of America, Anita Powell.
So what we're hearing right now from the Israelis is the air raid sirens have gone off in Jerusalem and near the Jordanian border, and some of these missiles, or rather these armed drones, have been seen in the air over Jordan, over parts of Israel. But right now, it's unclear how many of them have been intercepted, how many of them have landed. And of course, we'll be waiting with, I think, fear and horror as those details come in, because these are civilians who are underneath the flight path of these drones. And so one hopes that there will not be too many civilian casualties. Get into the mind of Israeli officials, but what I can say is what President Biden said on Friday, which is he expected this attack to come sooner rather than later. The U.S. has been on watch for this. Israel cannot be ignorant of that because, of course, they have close communication with Washington. So I think this was expected, especially in the wake of the April 1 strike on the forgive me, on the Iranian consulate in Damascus that Israeli forces claimed responsibility for. So I think this was expected. The IRGC has been saying that this was coming. And this Saturday, the Sabbath day, which was very holy for the Jewish people, seemed, I guess, an apt time for them to launch this strike. I mean, I think the big question comes down to what the U.S. Congress is going to do next week vis-a-vis military aid for Israel. That's the real glut here in the system. That's the real stopping point in the system. And so we can expect that what we're definitely going to see is huge public discourse in the halls of power in Washington over this. I'm not sure at this hour what we're going to see in terms of immediate reaction. That's definitely being discussed by President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu at this very hour. So I don't want to get ahead of that, and I don't want to, cogitate what they might come up with. We don't know at this hour. But we do know for sure that this is going to be the main talking point and a preoccupation of official Washington from now on, basically, until this is resolved.